I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played any glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I like how you get to explore the towns in it. Until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox. As usual, I left and paused my game to see what I got in the mail. The only thing that was in the mailbox was the CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note and I realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, let's just call him that, who I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting, though it was weird. What was weird about it was how it looked. It looked badly written, scratchy, and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down, and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late. I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. If you don't destroy this CD, he'll come for you. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes for you, too. It's too late for me. Please, destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even think about playing the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend, I hadn't seen him in 2 weeks. I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. Anyway, I looked at the disc and it looks like an ordinary computer CDR disc, except it had black marking on it written Sonic.EXE. It was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning it must have got it from somewhere else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and I wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. And I went out to my room and turned on the computer and the disc installed, and I installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome, because I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second where I saw the title image burn into something much different. Something I consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead of Sega 666. And the water had turned red, like blood, except more hyper-realistic. Yes, you'll be hearing that in the entire story, guys. But the freakiest thing was that for the split second frame, Sonic was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding, with two glowing dots staring right at me. His smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about the image. When I saw it, though, I figured it was just a glitch, and I forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for like 10 seconds, and then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic 3 popped up, and I was like, what the heck? Or no, what the fuck? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, I noticed something off. The background was a dark cloudy sky off of this bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD. You could have just said Sonic CD's Stardust Speedway bad future level. And there were only 3 save files. The music was the creepy caverns of winter music from Earthbound. Only if it was extended to seem to have been in reverse. And the image for the save file, when you see preview of the level, was just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I knew was sure that was something I was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yep, it definitely looked hacked. It was very creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared, or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that this was just a hack game and there's nothing to worry about that. Anyway, shaking off the creep feeling, I picked File 1 and chose Tails. When I selected and got it started, the game froze for 5 seconds. I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded awful like the Kefka guy from Final Fantasy, before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text showed only Hell Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level vanished from revealing Tails from the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing as Tails, and had Tails start running for like you would do in any of the classic Sonic games, which was odd because Tails was running along the level. There was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. Then that was when the peaceful music started to lower down into deep, slow tones, very, very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I'd never seen him have before. I had to move along, and he kept that worried face as he kept moving. I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers, and his moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. It looked like someone killed them in a rather gruesome way. A squirrel was hanging on the tree with appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and the duck had all his eyes gouged out, and his throat slit. I was sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and so did Tails. After a few seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, the music stopped. Tails was running up a hill. Then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw Sonic, and it wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was on the other side of the screen with his back turned against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but his smile faded, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, if not acting as he was totally oblivious to Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and then I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move. So this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly I began the growing feeling of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was gonna happen. And the forbidding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I had the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open. They were black, with those red glowing dots, just like the image. Though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black, and the sound was off. I stayed back for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game. My curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level, the title now saying, "Hide and Seek." This time I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3. It looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as if he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures as if he wanted me to get him out of the area as fast. He was in it as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme where you meet Shadow on the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing. I made Tails trek through a desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kafka laugh. Right after 10 seconds as I helped Tails run through the forest, I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him. Flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose was his sprite. It was making look very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD. Except it was just Sonic. He had black and red eyes, only again, this time he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. as he looked like he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, Tails tripped. Another cutscene. The music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails lay there crying for a straight 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, as I kind of teared up myself. Then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic's, as a grin slowly grew on his face. As he looked down on the horrified fox, I could not do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails and the screen went black. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. Text returned, and this time it said, "You're too slow. You want to try again?" Then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked that... What happened? Did Sonic murder Tails? No. He couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook off the shock, and I thought that I was brought back to the character select screen. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but the TV screen itself, which was flickering with red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding, and his orange fur had gone black. He had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again. The screen cut to black again and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack, or some kind of twisted joke, or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened, I kept playing. The next level looked so much different. It had the ground describer in zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had dark reddish cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out. It sounded like Gygas theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much more. Rather looked a little unnerved. As he broke the fourth wall, just like Tails, and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on. I made him move anyway. He ran a straight pathway down in this dark level. As he did, the screen started to flicker with red static a couple times. Then that maddening laugh came again. After a few seconds running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a sense of fear again, thinking that something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. Suddenly, he looked nauseated walking down this blood-stained road for about... Okay. But I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those red and black eyes. Those black and red eyes. The red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with text saying, "Found you." I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, the red static came again, and I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. At this time, a high-pitched squealing from Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles with what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch. Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even hit. A terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again and again and again. I made a punch again, and then Sonic vanished again laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more. Even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony as Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went to black after another distorted screeching noise. That lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared, saying, "So many souls to play with, so little time. Wouldn't you agree?" What the hell? What is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was actually brought back to the main menu. This time, the second file box had Knuckles on the TV screen. His red fur had darkened into a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were bleeding too. He had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think those were the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break and took a nap. I wish I hadn't, because then I had a disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness. Though it was under the light given to me by a lamp, hung high above my head, I could hear the cries of Tails and Knuckles nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us! Why did you give us to him? Run away before he gets you too!" The cries died out as then I heard Sonic laugh. His laugh sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. You're a lot fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle, though. He didn't last too long. Though he didn't last too long. I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. I won't be here long now until you join him and all of my other friends. I saw him walking toward me, flickering in in and out several directions. You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others. And when he grabbed me, with his bleeding black red-eyed grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out what was happening. So I turned on the computer and turned on the game and selected Robotnik next. I was still thinking of was wacky. Playing as Robotnik, what I still thought was wacky was playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level title appeared, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. It didn't look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, but it has a pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candlelights, and there was a few dark bloodstains here and there. There was a dark red curtain hanging above the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds, the red curtain sways very slowly. But whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano rather playing a sad yet peaceful song. Better known as the song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, and he just appeared a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing there. He turns his head to the left and to the right, at least twice, and he shrugs at me. He has no idea what was going on, even though I was scared out of my mind what was going to happen. I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation. You know, when you beat him at the end of the classic Sonic game and you chase him. As we continue going through the hallway, I saw up a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself. I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed the walls were getting darker and more reddish. Their torches were now an eerie blue. We went on to another hallway. This time it was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. Then we headed down another flight of stairs. This one was much longer, at least 1 full minute. Then I heard the horrid Kefka laugh again. The music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red, and the torches were a black flame now. Robotnik landed into the third hallway. I noticed now he looked very creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped up right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did in Knuckles with the red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds. Then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic Sonic standing in the darkness. You can only see his face, with his head and torso faded to black. When I say hyper-realistic, I mean he looked horrid. He looked like so real you could actually see in the lines of blue fur. You could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen, as if you could feel the fur if you touched the screen. I can't read this story. His face, oh God, the most horrifying smile I've ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and black, again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. Two slow smalling red dots, those black eyes staring right at me, as if he was staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched those sides, like his face like a Cheshire cat. Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like Werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking. somewhat yellow, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips, as if he ate some animal. I stared at the gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off of it. He was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face took 10 seconds for it to itch itself into my brain for good. The screen flickered with red static 3 times. The third time, I heard the Kefka laugh. This time, it sounded distorted, demonic even. I went back to the image, except there was the text again. There was text again. It was messed up, but it was pretty much like the horrifying things looked since this game. I looked at since I had this game. I am God. So when I read the message, I looked at while looking at Sonic when he hit me. I realized right then and there, this Sonic was a monster, a pure evil, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. All of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And this game is a very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, an actual split second, I screamed. Sonic lunged at me, screeching loudly as his mouth opened wide, unnatural, revealing nothing but literally sprawling abyss of pure darkness. This time, much louder and distorted, that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped, showing nothing but a black screen. As I sat there at the black screen, the last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh sounded more clear as if Sonic was right behind me. It played again 3 times as I looked at the text with shocking confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, as the save file had a TV image of Robotnik, the same tormented state as Knuckles and Tails. Skin turned a dull gray, his mustache had dropped and blackened, his glasses broke, blood coming from them. He had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for their agony they were really going through. Forever trapped and tormented by that horrid hedgehog and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on, no wonder what I did. I sat there for 25 seconds, horrified for what just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one. When he gets bored, he drags you into the game. He literally drags you to hell, where you can play with him always as his toy. I can't get that game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Thomas. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling with blood stains under its eyes. I just want to review this story real quick. JC's writing is absolute garbage. Yeah, I had to read this. Have a good day. This is my first creepypasta. Bye.